I think we're going to probably go back and forth with good news, bad news for a while when it comes to Xbox. I think there's going to be plenty of good news coming out as well, but I think that also we're going to have to suffer through a lot of the bad news and the announcements and stuff like that are going to go kind of sideways, in particular with like the layoffs that are about to happen and possible studio closures and things like that. So I personally think that it's going to be, one of those kind of gut punches that we're going to see from Microsoft before too long, but I still think that we will see some fun things, before too long with the console itself and some of the things that they plan on doing. So, like that's just pretty much how I feel about it. And honestly, I think, a lot of people are going to be, upset. I don't think any of us actually wants the consoles to kind of go away or there to be all these issues that we're having right now, but here we are, and it just seems like we're going to be kind of stuck in this sort of pattern right now, and we got to wait and see what Microsoft can do and how they can kind of work these things out. I don't know if they're going to be able to, but I'm sure going to hope that they try and that they get people to kind of follow and be on board with what they're doing, because I think they're trying to change things for the better. And that's something that I feel like obviously as gamers we can all kind of look at and say, hey, this is something that realistically they can do a better job at. They've got things that they can definitely work on, and that's something that I feel like obviously everybody can kind of do. Hey, let's get to work on making the experience better for like all the fans and all that kind of stuff, and hopefully they can do that. That's going to be the case, but it does look like there's going to be some bad stuff coming up. According to Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, he says that it's going to be pretty brutal on what's going to happen, and I think that was pretty much already kind of known, easy to kind of guess that stuff was going to happen. Obviously, we're still waiting to hear more news on the reported layoffs taking place at Xbox soon. Multiple studios such as Compulsion Games, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory potentially set to be affected. Well-regarded Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier is taken to YouTube to actually share an update. Anyway, I'll link this article, and then they link the actual YouTube video that he does, where Schreier recaps some of the more challenging times on Xbox's past and how they've led to present-day problems, before finishing off by discussing the brutal situation ahead. And again, this is what I want to stick to, right? Like, Jason Schreier has always come across as more of a PlayStation person. I'm not saying that I don't trust what he's saying or anything like that, but he just really does come across as a PlayStation person, and the media comes across as very disingenuous right now, because they all seemingly are out there saying, oh, well, how can Microsoft really do Gears of War as exclusive? It's like they're pissed off that Xbox has exclusives again, and I don't really understand it, right? Like, nobody does this for any other platform, and it's just ridiculous to me that they just keep like harping on this only for Xbox. So, he's one of those that kind of harps on it like he doesn't understand why they would do it. But anyway, he says, and I quote, "As I reported at Bloomberg last week, massive layoffs are coming to Xbox at the end of Microsoft's fiscal year on June 30th. And as I reported on Bloomberg this week, studios such as Compulsion, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory are all currently in negotiations with Xbox to figure out what's next, because all of them are on the chopping block. And those are just the three that I've confirmed so far. I know that there are other studios in trouble. I know that layoffs are about to hit the entire organization in a huge way. What's happening is going to be pretty brutal. The word bloodbath has been thrown around among people that I talk to who know what's happening. It's going to be bad." So Schreier goes on to clarify that it's not entirely true to say that any studios are being shut down by Xbox, as they're all in negotiations right now, potentially about spinning off or finding other buyers. He also claims that uncertainty has caused issues inside of Xbox Game Studios over the past decade, suggesting it's very hard to make great art when you're working under fear of layoffs and turbulence and shutdowns. Of course, keep in mind all this is just coming from a single journalist, but Schreier is known to be a reliable name in the industry, so it's, got to be pretty inclined to believe what he's saying. Obviously, we're going to get more details soon, but these are the things that I would say. And what studio, what faction, Sony, whoever, hasn't had studio closures or layoffs, right? So anybody that would just say this is just an Xbox problem, I think, is also being very disingenuous, because this is like a full industry problem. I think that during lockdowns and stuff, everybody got real bloated, everybody was into gaming more and things like that, and now we have these situations where gaming isn't as popular, and there's a lot of things happening, whether you want to blame it on the TikTok era or whatever the case may be. I just feel like we're at a particular point in time where gaming is changing, and I think it's in a real danger. And I don't mean to be a person that's kind of overstating it or understating it, but I feel like a certain way, right? I feel like if Microsoft and Sony launch these expensive ass consoles next year, you might as well just say it's the end of console gaming. I think gaming in general could be in danger of crashing, because it's not like with how expensive console gaming is, it's not like PC gaming's cheaper, right? It's actually even more expensive. So with all the prices and stuff. But I'm just saying right now, without a traditional console model, traditional console release, it does, in my opinion, look like Microsoft. And if they do release something next year, I hope they don't, because I think that would be the end of both of them. So I honestly just, like, could you imagine, right? Like, we look at 100 million for PlayStation as being low. Okay, like, thinking about it, the PS5 is only at 92 million in year 6. That's low, right? I mean, for them. And now imagine probably cutting that in half, which is what the is basically kind of what we're looking at, in my opinion. Yeah, you're going to get people that are going to that are going to buy one regardless. They'll buy one for $1,000, they'll buy one for $1,100 or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of people kind of just walk away from gaming in general, because that's no longer a affordable thing to do, right? You're going to just see a lot of people kind of look at that and just say, oh, well, I guess gaming isn't for me anymore. And the funny thing is gaming used to be such a thing for everybody, right? It was like literally a thing for everybody, and now it's just like we look at these things and it's just only for a certain group of people now, and it's kind of crazy to see that. And I know what's happening at Microsoft, and in a way it's good and bad. It sucks that everybody's losing, so many people are going to be laid off. I think the industry will recover, though, but I also think that we have to wait and see what happens with how Microsoft is handling some of these things. How are they going to handle these things? How is Sony going to handle these things? How are what I'm saying? I do think Microsoft is trying to handle these things in such a way that makes it so that they can do exclusives and stuff like that again. And I've mentioned this multiple times in multiple videos now. Microsoft is doing everything from the outside. It looks like they're trying to set things up so that they can actually do exclusive games again. And I think some people don't like that. Some people have always thought of Xbox as like the whipping post or whatever, the whipping boy or whatever. And that grows tiresome with me personally, because I don't look at it like that. I always think that Microsoft can do a lot. They can do a lot more than what they've been given credit for. They can go out there and compete if they are giving a fair shot at going out there and competing. And I think that's the thing that people need to kind of realize is, like, Xbox can definitely compete. You just got to let them compete. It's like you can't hold them to a separate standard than everybody else, though, right? Which is the kind of unfair thing that's going on right now. It's just like people going, oh, how can they do exclusive? Everybody's trying to work it out and construe things that Microsoft surely can't afford to do exclusives, right? It's like, let's ignore that that the Switch 2 has far less consoles out than Xbox Series consoles right now, and they do exclusives. Or that when you add in cloud and PC, there's far more chance for people to buy Xbox games than there are even PlayStation games. But people just kind of ignore that stuff. So I don't know. It's going to be strange to see how all this stuff kind of works out. I know that Microsoft is going to have to figure out as they go along a bit. I honestly, people ask me, they go, well, can you you really trust this group of people? And I say, until the leadership gives me a reason not to trust them, then absolutely, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for right now. If they sit there and lie repeatedly the way Phil Spencer did and kind of jerk people around that way, then absolutely, I think that it would be something that obviously, I wouldn't want to be able to go out there and say, hey, I want that to happen or whatever. But I do think that, we are seeing Microsoft set up for something that is going to be something that is going to be happen. So I guess we'll see, and then we'll see what the future does. Honestly, I hope that Microsoft can figure things out and get people kind of excited for the brand and all that kind of stuff again. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.